I'm experimenting with new camera angles. Is this one artistic?
Yeah, there's a microphone covering up your face.
Yeah, I want to be anonymous. I just want the people to hear me as well as possible and not see me because
we do a audio-based podcast. We can always just not upload video on YouTube.
Oh, that's right. So I mean, I guess that the reference isn't even good to literally everybody who's watching this because they're like, I'm not gonna load up YouTube to look. Maybe this is just some ploy to have people click their YouTube and just juice the views, juice the engagement. Let me move the camera a little bit.
Yeah, you should really see the bathrobe that Joey has hanging up behind him.
That's the towel. That's the bathrobe. That's the extra mask. There's a dog in here. Where's
I don't
look at that. There's a dog.
I don't really do bathrobes.
I used to do bathrobes a lot more. I feel like there's a time and place where it is ultimately comfortable.
Yeah, it's in a hotel.
Just a hotel?
Yeah, when you take the bathrobe, and you just wear it, and then it dries you off.
That's not my vibe because the hotel bathrobe, I assume, is just dirty and has other people's semen on it. So I prefer.
What?
Yeah.
The fuck?
There's no way.
Do you also assume that about the what?
There's no way they wash the bathrobes.
It's the same material as towels. Of course they wash it.
I don't buy that. They know they have to wash the towels, but the bathrobes I feel like they can skimp on. Like they can get away without washing a bathrobe.
No.
Incorrect,
Joey. Incorrect.
I set up my other desk. So now I'm ready to start recording podcasts over there. There's a better microphone. There's some sound foam, but I'm not there. I'm still in bedroom mode. We're officially done with all of the bedroom setup and the office setup. We're good to go now. But the thing is that I am intentionally trying to talk meekly to make as little noise as possible. Oh, it's
very obvious.
Okay.
Yeah.
There's a middle ground I can find. I think, so I'm going to boost my audio in post, but I feel like people
because you're talking a bit like this, like it's like we need to be a little bit quiet. We're using our calm down voice.
This is inside. You know what? I cannot get excited about anything on the show. I cannot have an opinion. I cannot be excited. So what I'm realizing is I don't know how to speak quietly without changing my voice inflection. Can you just lower your voice but sound the exact same? Am I realizing something about voices?
No, it is very, very natural that's why when it comes to voice acting stuff, yelling is always super awkward, right? Because you actually do need to yell. You can't just project loudly. You need to actually yell because there is a difference. And there is no way for you to be able to sound like you're yelling, but at a normal volume. So no, that's totally normal. It's very difficult to be able to just keep the same sound of your voice, tone, everything,
lower the decibels,
and just lower the volume like you're a fucking audio program. That's not really how that works.
Well, if anyone is at all curious why I sound like this, it's just we're trying a new audio format where this is the Go to Sleep podcast. We're here to read you bedtime stories and lullabies, and make sure that you drift on easily into MMR sleep heaven.
So what have you been doing this week?
Dude,
how's your tooth?
It's actually fine.
Good.
I could make something up for the sake of entertainment value, but what I got back was actually an interestingly large and what I would say disproportionately large amount of feedback about dental implants, both good stories and bad stories, and people who are scared and people who are also scared. And the update is you shouldn't be scared of it because 72 hours after the fact, we're chilling. Everything's fine. It's really, I'm super happy I did it. I'm super happy I did it. And now everything's normal. I tried, I went back to lifting weights for the first time yesterday, and I realized that maybe I still shouldn't do that. So I'm going to give that another 4 or 5 days. But everything else, dude, we're in Gravy Town. Did I tell you?
Is you like clenching your teeth too much?
Yeah. Did I tell you that I plan on asking the dentist out on a date?
The student dentist?
Yeah.
Or the teacher dentist?
The student dentist. The student dentist I plan on asking out on a date. I've yet to be able to deduce if she... Oh, you went away.
My camera just died for some reason.
That's
I don't know what that was.
I'll fix that in post. I probably won't.
I don't know what happened.
The student dentist, I'm trying to figure out if she's single without just doing the thing which a normal person would do and be like, oh, are you dating anybody? That's not fun. That's not fun. But I've decided that there's a little bit of a click there. It's small. Okay. There's not fireworks. I'm not like puppy dog smitten, but like I suspect that there's something there. And I don't know.
How many times have you seen her? Because last time you explained that you have to go through like a bunch of examinations that even though you don't actually need. So this has been going on for a while then.
I've probably seen her 5 times in person, maybe 6.
Okay.
And I'll see her 2-3 more times.
Okay. She's
2-3
more times.
Just started her last year of dental school.
Okay.
And I don't know if she is interested in me or is really friendly or I'm just an abnormally normal and, dare I say, charismatic patient. Because I think that she has to deal with really unfortunate patients for most of the day. Because they're people who are either with like extreme dental problems, oftentimes older, sometimes fallen on hard times. And not to say that's a cast for people to like be grumpy, but I've seen a lot of people who I have shared these rooms with, and I would describe them all as older and grumpier. So I might just be an outlier ray of light in her day, and I might be mistaking making her happy for making her happy.
That's have you talked about what you do at all for a living?
Yeah. I even so much as did the thing where I went I hate telling people that I have a couple podcasts, especially in Los Angeles. I really I fucking loathe it because it's like everyone has a podcast. If you go to the fucking Ralph's and check out, they're like, well, yeah, I mean, nice bananas. I do a podcast about bananas. It's like, well, shit. I mean, we are in Los Angeles. So, like, I think that podcasting has gone from a point where it's like, oh, man, that's like a cool niche thing that, like, you know, oh, like how that's like they're like a YouTuber or something or like a. But now it feels so incredibly uncool to be like, oh, I'm like a streamer or a podcaster or a YouTube. Maybe that's not the case. Maybe there's still a lot of people who think that is an envious position of privilege and power and coolness. But it feels to me, especially as someone who like is in the lower middle class of said hobbies, like super not cool.
And you're not in the lower middle class.
I am firmly middle class.
Our podcast is bigger than 99% of podcasts out there.
Okay, that's true.
Yeah, and of course we're nowhere near the 1%, out there, the 0.1% rather. The 1% to 0.1%, there's a massive difference. But, the thing is that like 100% podcasting and streaming, it's not cool to talk about unless you are that 0.1%. But the thing is that because it's such both of those things have blown up to a point that like when you hear that somebody, what do you do? Oh, I'm a streamer, or like, oh, I run a podcast. Like you automatically assume like, what are the chances you're actually like making real money off of this podcast or streaming? Much more likely I'm talking to somebody who is like, I want to be, I've made $20 this month off of, it's like, that's not cool at all. So
which probably speaks to why
you just naturally assume.
Yeah, it probably also speaks to like some ickiness of why we determine worth from like people making money or being something as a career. But I do assume when people say like, oh yeah, I'm a streamer, I'm like, okay, cool, like how many people watch you? Which is shitty because like they're probably just doing a thing that they like to do for fun. I enjoyed doing the podcast with you, we posted and people talk on, it's a good time. But it shouldn't be about the numbers, but inherently I always think that it is. I always go,
no, it's fair. Because the thing is you're talking, when you ask that question, you're talking about what is your job, what is your career, and very, 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 very few people can make that their job or their career. I mean, like my stream draws a couple hundred viewers, right? If I'm playing Dota, it's drawing a couple hundred viewers.
1%.
If I'm playing something
Straight
else,
up 1%.
maybe 100. I'm a 1%er. That's not my career. Like I don't consider that my career, right? Even though I do have more success than most people. And the thing is like what podcasters and streamers, what that job title is now, it's the 2020s version of I'm in a band. It's like
you're so right.
Okay, you're in a band. Like, yeah, there are a lot of people in a band, but are you in like a successful band? Like, is that your full-time job, or do you want that to be your full-time job and you're currently leeching off of mom and dad, or you're currently in college and, like whatever, Like, because the thing is that for 99% of people, it's not actually their job. It's their hobby, right? I consider streaming my hobby. That's not actually my job because I don't make enough money off of it for it to be, and I don't treat it like a career either. So, but people confuse those things.
I know there's at least one person listening right now who's like, oh, how fucking dare you? You're like talking about no one listens, but I would kill to have fucking thousands of people listen to my podcast. And they're probably right, but like, it's still a for fun thing.
Yeah, no shame if you're like trying to do that. But like when people ask you, what do you do for a living? Like they're asking, what do you make money off of? Like if somebody asks you what your hobby is and you respond with that, like, I'll chill. But,
yeah.
Again, different things.
I still, when people ask me what I do, I oftentimes feel like I want to lie and say that I'm still, I still work in TV. Because I feel like that's cooler than having to explain, oh, I'm like a senior producer. I like work in esports. That's competitive gaming.
Senior producers.
It's like
senior
the Lakers,
producers,
but
really professional sounding.
I know.
Like just say that. Just senior producer, and I used to work in television. Like boom, boom, you're in. But the whole reason I asked this in the first place is that you specifically said that you went through this student dental situation to be able to save money. And I asked that question because part of getting, people interested in you is establishing value.
I'm establishing the value of being frugal, which is fucking invaluable.
Yeah. But she may also think you're dirt poor. Like you are doing it for frugal reasons, but she may also think that you don't have a job, Joey. So that's why I asked that question.
No. We've extensively talked about some work stuff. Actually, the person who did the implant before they were like, gonna put injections in my mouth, they're like, oh, I used to watch Team Liquid play in the GSL. He's like some little Asian guy, and I'm like, oh, what race did you play? And he's like, oh, I played Terran Stab.
I take it you were not a Terran player.
I was a Protoss player in a former life.
Protoss nowadays are considered real scummy. Were they considered scummy back in the day?
I will always think that Terran players are the most scummy because you just build Marines and Marauders and then you fucking click and there's medevacs. It's fucking stupid. But Protoss players, not to get down to a StarCraft rabbit hole, but Protoss players having a pretty bad last couple of years.
Okay, so you were really big into StarCraft. Can you give me, like, I think we've gone through this in the podcast, right? I've talked about the different types of people that play the different roles in Dota. So can you give me that same thing, but for the races in StarCraft?
Terran players are basic. Because Terran players are basic. They're like, I am a human being. I would like to have a power fantasy with other human beings. Fine.
And their strategies are relatively straightforward, as my camera dies again.
We can fix that later. There's Zerg players are very manic, or like they're very manic. They like chaos, and Protoss players are very controlling. They generally like to have a lot of mastery over a smaller amount of things. Those are the three personality types that I just am firmly committing to after not playing a game of StarCraft in like 3 years. But like I know that it's true.
But you were really big into StarCraft.
It's true.
Back in its heyday. So I figured you'd be able to get it. That was a good answer. Oh, I appreciated that. So is Protoss the least micro? What's the least micro intensive?
Have you really not played that much StarCraft? Like because you played like War 3.
No, I literally played campaign of both StarCraft and Warcraft, and that's pretty much it. I played Warcraft PvP a little bit.
There's someone who's going to fact check me here and do like a well actually in the comments. So to that person, I can just preface this with please stop. Also, sorry.
Please.
I think the Protoss units, I always had an appeal to them because they were slightly more micro heavy. I think that people would be like, oh, but like Banglings and Zerglings, and people would also be like, oh, but I need to micro my Marines and dropships, and like, yeah, cool, but there was always something incredibly satisfying with Sentry Force Fields and Blink Stalkers that and chrono boosting from your Nexus that really appealed to playing Protoss for me. Which is why when I started to play Dota, I was originally like, oh, what do I have that other Dota players don't have? I have really good micro. I should play heroes like Chen. And then I played a bunch of Chen games, and I'm like, well, I can't do anything. I've played Dota for 3 weeks, and half of my games are Chen because I'm trying to micro creeps and jungle, and I needed
that's those are the strategies. I played very hero based strategies in Warcraft 3 because I found micro to be stressful. Like I could do it, but I wasn't enjoying it when I was doing it. If you don't enjoy doing something, you're naturally not going to do it as well as you potentially could, right? So I always played very hero-based strategies in Warcraft 3, and that very naturally transitioned me into Dota because I was like, oh, no, this is what I want. This is what I've wanted the entire time. I just want to be able to micro one powerful hero. That's all I want. I don't want other stuff to worry about.
So it was perfect for you.
Oh,
you're like, this is it. All I need is one character. And then someone's like, oh, do you want to play Visage? And you're like, no, fuck you.
No. I specifically went away from Warcraft 3 into Dota because I didn't want to do that microing.
I remember because I started playing Dota like around Meepo being released in the Dota 2 client. Like around then, I remember that was like a big touchstone to like my first probably 6 months of playing Dota, which had to have been very early 2012 or late 2011, if I had to guess. And I was like, oh, dude, I can control 5 characters. I'm going to shit on everybody. And then I still didn't know how to play Dota, and it still continued to go poorly. I really
Yeah, and
wish...
also a bunch of StarCraft and Warcraft players play Dota, so,
Yes.
that's what they all thought.
If I can go back and do it all over again, if I can throw one of those out there, I wish that I would have learned playing Dota with someone who had a modicum amount of experience, because I think that I could have failed faster and learned faster, and had someone to take advice from who wasn't just... I don't even know who I was learning Dota from. If I'm to go back and really piece together who I was learning Dota from, the answer was no one. It was Dota Fire guides for hero builds, because it's before builds were in the game, and I was okay, I think I know what to do here. And it was I wasn't really watching streams, I wasn't really watching YouTube videos. I guess there were some light Dota cinema tutorials, but I can't, when I think of StarCraft, I can just talk about players who I watched play, and I would copy strategies and write stuff down, and I feel like I could learn and iterate on it, right? But I really didn't do that when I started Dota, and it was just fucking around with my friends, and I think that I really kneecapped any growth for probably that entire first year, just because I didn't have anyone to be like, hey Joey, you should really bring more than nothing to lane. You should bring more regen.
Or we're getting back to that, by the way. Did you have you noticed that some offlaners are rushing the helm of Iron Will? They're going out with no items.
It's so good on Centaur.
Yeah. We things just go in a cycle. That used to be the strategy a long time ago. Start off with Helmet Iron Will or Ring of Health, and it comes right back.
I used to play a Centaur build when, I think back then, Iron Will, it was just when Centaur was released ish and Stampede still stunned. Iron Will built into multiple things. It built into Armlet and Vanguard, maybe?
Mm-hmm.
And there was a reason why I was the first 2 items I was buying on Centaur was 2 Iron Wills that I would just run at people and be like, you can't fucking kill me. God, I was so bad. I wish that I had any I wish that I had any VODs or any replays so that I can just watch them and really just be like, wow, that was me, a human being 10 years ago.
I did that not too long ago, about a month ago, maybe. I went back and not one of my replays, but one of my casting VODs. One of the first times I ever did casting. That was painful. It was painful, man. I was so... You could just hear the nervous energy, It was awful. It was so terrible. So terrible. This is I'm talking all the way back in Heroes of New Earth. I'm not talking about early join Dota, where everybody hated me and stuff. I actually think that my progression as a commentator happened way before I got into Dota 2.
Which is probably to your benefit.
Yeah, I mean, I think, believe me, if people had heard me in Dota 2 the way I was in Han, they would have immediately laughed me out of the building.
Maybe we don't give him a job.
Yeah, the thing is that everyone says that they're oh, I hated you when you first started casting, but you got so much better. I actually, the truth is that all my growth happened in Han, not in Dota. I refined myself in Dota. People also got to learn my casting style and appreciate it more. It's of course there's going to be a jolt if there's you're expecting Toby and you get somebody else. So yeah. People always say that I was really bad, but I actually don't think I was ever that bad. In Dota. In Han, I was very bad.
I wonder... I guess I could probably go back and do something similar with the first couple of times that I was on camera doing anything for those early attack Twitch shows I was making, which at this point would be 5-6 years ago. And I would hate to watch that. I would absolutely hate to watch. One, because I'd be like, oh my God, Joey, you're like 20 pounds smaller. And then secondly, after I get over that, I would be like, why? Like, how do you not know how to say words?
Yeah.
It's really a practice.
Words are hard.
It's really,
they're
really
hard when you're being recorded.
Speaking of words being hard, something else that I find hard is making eloquent segues between topics. I think that in order to do it properly, you actually have to think about things a modicum in advance and not just try and boom, slam on the brakes and transition, right?
Yeah.
Because words are hard. Boy, I really saved that.
What do you want to talk about next, Joey?
No one will ever know. No one will ever know that wasn't intentional. They're like, wow, he really has grown as a human.
We seamlessly went from talking about StarCraft to commentating to what are we talking about now?
I don't know. I'm gonna ask her out on a date, just to put a bow on that. I'll give you I'll give you an update later.
Good.
I guess it's like 6 months out, so it's gonna be a long time till you get that update. Anywho,
have you bothered asking like the secretary that you check in with?
That feels like cheating.
You bothered asking her? What do you mean that's cheating?
There's no way that they know each other. I'd be confident that they don't know each other. There's a lot of dental students. What I wanted to seamlessly transition to is that I think that there is literally two things that happened over the course of the last week that could be the spurring of any conversation in the world of Dota. Because nothing's happening. Nothing's happening.
Well, that's not true. There's the Dota 2 Championship League of 2021 Season 2. And the BTS Pro Series closed qualifiers for Southeast Asia. Also, iLeague just closed up. I'm just joking. Nobody's watching that. Nobody's watching those tournaments.
Good times. There was... And you probably saw this because it was, I'd say in the last 6 months, potentially the Reddit Dota thread that has gotten the most upvotes in a hot minute. The conversation was reignited about being shitty to women in game. Reignited, right? And
it is the most upvoted of this year. Wow. I actually just checked the subreddit and did top this year, and yeah.
Well, that makes sense to me. I think it just caught traction on all, and I actually haven't really investigated why that is. But what I actually want to talk about is a derivative of that. And one might see this as venting. And one might even see this as a way to get myself into trouble. So maybe I should really think about my words before I say them. But there were a multitude of complaints about that Reddit thread not being censored's the wrong word. It's very loaded language. Moderated enough?
Not moderated more heavily?
Not moderated more heavily.
Okay.
And generally, when I see these arguments, I get my first thought is, well, this person is probably correct. Let's take a look and make sure that I feel good about what's going on in there. And that's how I did not feel this time. I feel like it's hard for me to be someone who outwardly believes and tries to uphold the ideas of as much equality as possible and actively defending any minority in the space of in the Dota space, while at the same time still balancing that with the idea that people still need to be able to have an honest discussion that isn't just like a one-sided thing, because Reddit threads are notorious for being complete, like generally there's one predominant narrative that happens in the comments section, like one tends to take over and then it floods, and it's a lot of groupthink from there on, right? But I think that there is a productive exchange that happens a lot of time in these threads where people say things that might be shitty, but really it's just them like trying to be open and honest and like have a discourse about issues.
Mm-hmm.
So removing everything that's even a hint of negativity and like whitewashing something to only be the people who are saying, oh, yes, I agree, of course we should treat women better, does a disservice to the people who are actually like being shitty and either engaging in a conversation which could potentially, be enlightening to them, or sometimes being shamed, because I think there's value in some people expressing bad opinions and getting
shame is a very powerful tool. Shame is a very powerful tool that we've developed in society. So yeah, I would agree.
So I definitely felt some struggle to look at that and be like, well, what is worthwhile here? Like ultimately, there's a handful of people who decide like what is too far, and I think that we, by and large, do a pretty good job at that. And I don't want to blow smoke up my ass or other people who were like, looking at the comments and deleting stuff, but to then like go over to either Twitter or like some Discords and be like, oh man, fucking they don't do enough, just like feels bad, and it almost gives me like empathy for other people like who are into it. It does give me empathy for people who are in a position like that, because those ones really get me, because I can be a dick and just like get rid of comments, but when it's about something that I care about, it feels a lot harder. So that's my incoherent soapbox for the evening.
I will say
policing that thread was hard, and then seeing feedback that people weren't satisfied that it wasn't stricter was also hard, because it's difficult to be like, well, are they right, or are they potentially too far in the other direction? And who am I to say who's too far in the other direction?
Well, I think you could have an opinion about that. I think, like, for example, I think it's pretty easy to say, broadly speaking, people need to be allowed to make mistakes and to have wrong opinions. They need that room to be able to do those things. And if you don't give them the room to do those things, they will find they will find other areas to be able to do so, and they will develop those echo chambers that will feed into their incorrect beliefs. So I agree. I mean, people do not give enough room to other humans to learn and grow, right? Like, no matter where you think you are, morally speaking, no matter like how good your upbringing is and how perfectly you feel like you know all the rights and all the wrongs, and you do all the rights and you don't do all the wrongs, like, damned if I don't. You want to be able to learn more. Like, there's always something that you should be able to learn. You should always be growing and getting better as a person. That is like one of the strongest foundations.
Hot take,
of,
dude. Calm the fuck down with that.
So in that regard, like, how do you get better? Well, you make mistakes, right? You make misjudgments, you make missteps, you say the wrong things, you do the wrong things, you believe the wrong things. And so if you don't give people the room to be able to do that, and the feedback of people learning that they're wrong about something, or because, we all just live in our own skin, so that person isn't experiencing somebody else's life. So it's understandable that they would have a judgment that is something like, well, you're not special just because you're a girl. Like, I get a shit on all the time because of XYZ. Like, yeah, you do. And some of that's not okay, but, like, women do have it really tough still, and you can acknowledge that and be supportive of that, So it's I think you guys like, I've always thought the Dota 2 moderation has always been very, very solid. I always think that over moderation of these things is usually bad.
Yeah, and I agree with that, and I guess thank you. But I think that if I'm having a therapy session for a second, surely it just comes down to my inherent want to make everyone as happy as possible. So when I see
Yeah.
people who are on the same team as me not be happy, or for me, like, not waving the team flag big enough or fast enough, like,
Mm-hmm.
that's when it's like, oh man, like, we agree about the issue and we both feel really strongly about it, but I just think that you're more, I'm in like a different position. And it's like, oh, I guess it's another instance of, well, I can't make everyone happy, so I really need to try to let that go.
Yeah. Yeah. No, that's a fight that I'm intimately aware with for multiple reasons. One of which is just being somebody on the internet, right? Can't make everybody happy. My job is dependent on making as many people as happy as possible, and like, that is a part of my job, right? Another part of my job is being good at my job, but there is still a part of it that is, you got to make people happy. I could be really fucking good at my job, but if nobody likes me for whatever reason, I'm probably not going to get hired, right? So it's yeah, it's a very, very hard thing to accept when somebody has an incorrect opinion of you. When somebody thinks that you are something other than what you are, or if somebody just hates you for a reason that you don't understand, or like, those sort of things are very hard to let go. I find them more so harder to let go when it's somebody else. When I
Hmm.
know a person and like they're getting like, that's like, I'm always somebody who like jumps in on these things when like somebody else is like getting flamed, somebody else is being criticized. I'm always jumping in on there because I find it very difficult. It's like hard to defend yourself, right, against somebody criticizing you because they just naturally think that you're just reacting, right? But if somebody else comes along, and says like, hey, you're wrong about this person, then I think they're much more likely to change they're going to be open at least to changing their perspective. So yeah, I know, I agree. It's a hard thing. It's a hard thing to let
I
go.
walked away from that thread though, and from that conversation though, feeling like I always do, which is a
Hmm.
general sense of optimism that at least
It's
one
good.
person had an introspective thought or a changed opinion or a realization.
Yeah.
Um, and that's a very slow way to look at change, but it's a definitely, I guess, the way that I feel some kind of comfort, because I don't think that that kind of discussion happens, especially not in such a forefront way for so many people, and no one has some kind of an introspective thought about it. So,
Yeah. I mean, all these things build up, right? Like, one person has that thought here, more likely tens, maybe even hundreds of people have a little ping that goes off in their head, right? This is just one Reddit thread that they spent maybe an hour, like 5 minutes, maybe an hour,
maybe 30
like,
seconds for some of them.
yeah, like, could be, and then they go on with the rest of their life. And then there's going to be other things, maybe other Reddit threads, maybe real life interactions, like whatever it is, it built up, and that person slowly changes. I mean, do you think that thread would be nearly as successful 10 years ago, 5 years ago?
No, no.
No. No, I don't think so at all. So that should give you a lot more hope than anything else. I mean, again, it's the most popular thread of this year. So you think any of the threads of like 2018, 2017, 2016, 2015, any of those or anything close to that sort of topic? Probably not.
No, people still cared about the game then, so it was like, oh, there's a balance change. Oh boy, the international prize pool's bigger than ever before. Like that's what those posts were.
True. Yep.
But now we're just deprived of our sweet.
I actually went through the threads of all time. Sorry, it's in the top 10 of threads of all time of our Dota 2.
Oh wow. I wouldn't have guessed that.
Yeah.
Wow, then I guess it actually is newsworthy, and probably not just for me complaining about it, because it probably is some kind of a sign of more people having mild change opinions. Although clearly, because the problem is still hyper prevalent, not enough people. But opinion is shifting. Hopefully,
it's bigger than the Gabe Newell thread. Posted by user Gabe Newell Bellevue. Why did he need to put I guess he didn't have like somebody else to Gabe Newell. Update from the Shanghai Major. 5 years ago. Oh, fucking fantastic. It was bigger than that thread. And of course there are more people on our Dota 2 than there were back then. But, I think it still gives you a good amount of perspective. So
James is an ass.
James is an ass. James is an ass, and we won't be working with him again. God, what a fucking godlike thread. And then Too Good is the top response. Incredible.
Man. But yeah, other than that, I played a lot of games this week. Like an exceeding amount. I played...
I thought you were going to transition that whole thread into the Blizzard thing. Oh, there's a reason to be optimistic. There's a reason not to be optimistic. Oh, man.
The Blizzard thing is... I think when you work in and around games and you have a lot of friends who are females, you hear stories about companies. And I think that there's a lot of people who just have companies in their head who are like, ooh, I'm not super sure about them. A big one was Activision and Blizzard. A big one is Riot. And
they're the two ones that have been very prevalent in the news lately. So,
so it stirred up a lot of interesting conversation at work, which I feel like is valid. And it was definitely hard to do work that day because people were distracted, and also how fucking disgusting.
Seriously, some of the stuff that came out of that was, ooh, my goodness.
I just
like the like understandable that like individual interactions can get really nasty and scummy, and that they remain hidden under the rug, right? Because if that person doesn't say anything and the person who had the bad interactions with somebody doesn't feel comfortable saying anything to anybody, or is afraid that they won't be believed, or doesn't want to ruin relationships with other people, or whatever it is, right? It's like understandable that just kind of gets swept under the rug. But like a company culture where like people get drunk and just like fucking troll around the office, like hitting on people, like what? That's so blatantly public.
It's also so foreign to me. Wild. Like I look at that stuff, and it always serves to me as a reminder that like this exists, because I think that I often find myself insulated, and even though like I hear about it and I understand it, I go like, oh well, surely people aren't that monstrous, right? But no, like it exists, and it exists not like in spooky places overseas that's like easy to compartmentalize or vilify. It like exists in Irvine, California at Blizzard, right? Like it exists in our backyard, in our industry, and it's like, oh wow.
Yeah. It exists in the same area, in the same space, where very likely the same people are making, like tweets about stuff. They're supporting certain social movements, and they're very likely having something to say about like oh, fuck sexism or stuff like that, and they still act like that.
Fuck sexism. Come over here. Let me fart on you.
Yeah, seriously, it's wild shit for sure. But yeah, if you guys haven't checked that out, there the Blizzard allegations, there's some kind of like crazy shit to be happening in a big company like Activision Blizzard, where 20% of their workplace is female. Like, it's a lot of employees.
I can feel my blood pressure be warmer just thinking about it again. Have you played Pokemon Unite?
I did. I played about 2 or 3 games with Ellie. It was okay. People really were like, "Oh, this game's like a lot of fun. It's like way better." And it was better than I expected, of course, but I would not call it really fun. But then again, I'm a Dota player, so it's like very natural. I'm just like, I'm going from riding a motorcycle to riding a kid's
tricycle.
A kid's tricycle. It's like, I'm like, you guys think this is really fun? Like, what? It's very basic, and I mean, it's kind of cool, but monetization seems to be a bit of a problem.
Yeah, you can just be more powerful by spending money, which is like never something that I think is good at all. But that aside, I think that I've seen some people talk about it in like okay, positive and disparaging ways. Like, it really spans the spectrum. I've probably played 30 matches over the last week.
Okay.
I probably played about 30 matches over the last week. Used it to like listen to some podcasts, used it to just lay in bed. Like, I was like, oh, this is fun. You got to play on Nintendo Switch. It's only on that platform. You do not need Nintendo Online, which was the reason why I did play it, which is great. So hopefully it doesn't stop other people from playing it. And I would just generally encourage people to try it, especially if you like Dota, because I think it's an interesting experience in the sense that, we're, by and large, I think it's fair to say, a little gatekeepy about Dota being Dota and a MOBA. This is... I know that Heroes of the Storm kind of got, the moniker of like baby's first MOBA because it was designed to be much simpler across the board. But like, this is close to the most distilled version of a MOBA that I think you could actually get. It's
okay. So I am very curious about the success of Pokemon Unite because of this MOBA discussion that we're having, because I feel like MOBAs are a bit of a fading genre. They're a genre of the past, and I'm very curious how successful Pokemon Unite is, because it's a simplified MOBA, right? That is also targeted towards a younger audience, right? Because naturally it's a Pokemon game, so it'll naturally just kids will play it and stuff. So I'm very curious how, because I just feel like the next generation of gamers aren't really that interested in MOBAs. And I was going through some of the games, and like the last round of MOBAs that obviously were not successful, and I'm talking about non-mobile MOBAs. Those came out in like 2016. And those were like small stuff like Paladins. Let's see. Dawn Gate was canceled. Paragon, like those are the kind of, that was the last round of MOBAs. Like the last big one that came out was maybe Heroes of the Storm. That was 2015. Like, it's been 6 years since a really big MOBA like Pokemon Unite came out, and so I'm very curious to see how it does.
I mean, you couldn't attach a better brand to it, literally, right?
Oh yeah, for sure.
You could not attach a better brand to it. And I think that there's I think that there's going to be some nurturing here. I think that there's going to be people who, if Pokemon Unite proves to be something that is even remotely healthy, and I'm not saying big like League of Legends or big like Dota, like if it can capture the same amount of people who, like, I don't know, what's a good analogy, who play Smite.
Smite, yeah, Smite's a good one.
I bet that it's going to feed people into different MOBAs.
Yeah, yeah, probably.
I also, aside from the fact that I'm pretty sure that it's just going to have gross and disgusting, even more so than now, monetization, uh, I've been having a good time with it as something that is brainless. And that's what people told me about Heroes of the Storm. My friends who liked Heroes of the Storm would be like, oh, Joey, it's great. Like, I can just turn my brain off. It doesn't really matter. I don't have to try that hard. Like, I can try, but like it it's whatever. Like, that's how a lot of people described HOTS to me. And I didn't get it. I'm like, oh, well, why would you want to, like, not really care? I think I get it now. Maybe I've withered away. But playing Pokemon Unite, and I don't know, like, I might be back next week and I'll be like, I'm never touching this game again. But I envision continuing to play a little bit more with friends, like having fun, maybe playing with some of my friends who don't play Dota anymore, but like want to play Pokemon Unite for a little bit. Like, I think that it really lets me not care. Like,
okay, so the comparison Heroes of the Storm confuses me because I found Heroes of the Storm way more fun than Pokemon Unite.
Interesting. I didn't like HOTS at all. Like, at all.
Really? Well, see, I have no problem like shutting my brain off. I just found Pokemon Unite to be just too simplified.
Right. Because I mean, it is more simple than HOTS. Maybe the fact that it's like a curve where, like, HOTS was too simple, but it was bad. But Pokemon Unite is so simple, so simple, it's actually good again. Maybe that's like kind of how it works for me.
So stupid, it's genius.
I've yet to play a good game with a real team where I actually, like, try and play the game like a MOBA and lane properly, and not just like have 5 people who pick like carry Pokemon and then just like fucking
actually have spells. A defender on each lane, and then like I haven't done that either. It would be interesting for sure.
Yeah, so
maybe that's where the complexity comes in.
Anywho, whenever esports orgs start signing Pokemon Unite teams, that's when that's when that shit gets real.
Yeah, or hiring commentators, perhaps. Anybody want to hire me for a Pokemon Unite game?
That's true. You probably have to download Pokemon Unite, even if you really didn't want to, because there's like at least a non-zero part of you that goes, oh, well, if this is fun, there might be a business opportunity.
Yeah, it's also it's awkward because there's currently a conversation going on behind scene that I can't really talk about too much, but what spurs from this and Pokemon Unite is the fact that the community, what the community values is talent who are dedicated to the game, right? Dota 2 especially is very closed off to outsiders, but like in general, esports communities value the talent that are committed to their game, that are watching the games, that know the history, that know the players intimately, all these sorts of things, right? Know in-depth mechanics, can talk about analysis. Like, there's so many things that come from being dedicated to a game. Community values that. Most tournament organizers value that. But an interesting thing is that, like, I don't think Valve really values that in Dota talent. And I think that's an interesting note, because I can see why they think that, and I don't necessarily think they're wrong per se, because if you invite, this has nothing to do with TI invites, if anybody's curious, but like if you invite to like a third party tournament, right? You invite the Dota people, right? You're going to get the same, you're not getting any new viewers out of hiring those talent. all you're doing is making the community happy, but it's not like you're bringing in any new viewers when you hire ODPixel. People who are watching ODPixel are already Dota fans. Yep. And Dota fans were going to tune into the tournament anyway, right? So it's very weird because all you're doing by hiring them is making the community happy and making sure viewers don't go away. But if you wanted to bring in new viewers, you need to be able to reach outside of that sphere, right? So effectively, people who work other games are more valuable in that regard, right? Your day nines, your machines, your like, who are all the talent that have worked TIs that haven't worked Chobra,
Wheat,
that aren't like professional. DJ Wheat, great example. That's a really good one. Day nine and DJ Wheat are like two really big examples of that. Yeah, it's just like they hold more value because they're naturally going to bring in audiences that aren't Dota people, you know? Now, whether or not they stay is something else, but like, you know, at least they're going to be brought in for that show. So it's a interesting point. So it's like, well, the community doesn't want me to do Pokemon Unite or whatever. Like, it is more valuable if I was to diversify that way. If I did League of Legends, I'd be a lot more valuable, I think, to like Valve, for example. Be like, oh shit, he's doing Riot work. Like, can bring in Riot people, or like he's diversified enough that he is valuable enough to do something, you know, like other than Dota events. Like, I naturally have more power, right? Because if you don't work, like if TI, it's like TI takes up 3 months. There's nothing going on, right? That's the only thing going on. So if you only do Dota, you have no other work, right? But if I work other games, right? If Riot contracts me and says like, hey, we want you to work Worlds, and Valve's like, hey, we want you to work TI, like I'm in a dream position, right? Because I can negotiate between them. Decide who, you know, whoever pays me more, that's the one I'll work or whatever. But, you know, if you only do Dota, you don't have any power there. So
I might be getting the wrong message here, but let me try and distill. Dude, if you did Pokemon Unite casting, I'd be so fucking hyped for it.
Hell yeah, let's go. I mean, I'm honestly not expecting to do any Pokemon Unite casting because League of Legends is League of Legends talent, right? League is a bit bigger game, broader appeal. So therefore, their talent have broader appeal. And then there's just various talent in general who can pick up a game like Pokemon Unite. There's I saw Golden Boy was playing it, for example. Like there's a general esports talent who, like, it's not like Pokemon Unite you need to know anything about, right? Anybody, any talent of any game could pick it up and go. So much more likely your League of Legends, Overwatch League, Valorant. I think those casters are more likely to be picked up for Pokemon Unite stuff, but we'll see.
Unless they want the best.
I would have to hardcore start. Yeah, I'm not going to start about making content about Pokemon Unite. I don't like that game that much.
What if you, I just want to hear you say Machamp a lot.
Machamp.
Oh god, he just hit his evolution to the Garachomp. They're gonna have so much damage. It's a Snorlax sleep. Everybody get fucking hyped.
Machokin no longer. He's a Machamp.
God.
Brilliant.
Yeah. That one's free, everybody. That one's free gold.
You want to talk about one more Reddit thread?
Yeah, I want to. Oh god. Yes, please go ahead. Let's round it out with one more Reddit thread.
What are you saying? Oh god.
Because I think you're probably going to talk about the other one that a lot of people talked about.
Is it the Gorp one?
Oh yeah, it's the Garp one.
Yeah, it's the Gorp one. So I'll keep this pretty short and sweet. But so I'm glad Gorp's calling out NFTs. I think he specifically calls out Kyle, which I think is a little unfair, but also a little fair. Kyle puts himself in a position to do that. If people want to know why, like, talent, first of all, I'm not sure why talent always have to be like the moral arbitrators of the scene or whatever. Like,
Yeah, what a
And
weird.
everyone just is like, players don't have to do any of that. Like they just need to focus on the game. But like talent, like where our relationships with various like talent, our relationships with the community and with the developer and with the tournament organizers all matter. Like in order for us to continue to work and put food on the table, like we have to be the moral arbitrators of the scene. But the players who can just focus on Dota and get invited to things, like apparently they don't have to do that at
Which
all.
isn't like
I
that
always,
in other worlds. Like no one
no,
goes,
what?
excuse me, LeBron, I don't want to fucking, you don't matter. Stan Van Gundy, get over here. Like that doesn't happen.
Yeah, so I'm not sure why it always falls on talent to be the people, but some talent like putting themselves out there for that. I've done it a couple times for something that I've really believed in, and you won't see me saying like a whole lot about NFTs. You want to know why? Because I don't view NFTs any differently from the shady gambling sponsors that have filled up tournament organizers for the last 10 years. And you know what? Like I don't know what to say. I think that I hope that some days esports gets to a place where we don't have to deal with that, where I don't have to think about the fact that they've got like, what is that, 1x bet, And I'm just like, Jesus Christ, am I going to work that event? Am I not going to work that event? Do I actively do I actively take 5% away from my yearly salary to like not work this one event? How many more events am I going to have to decline because of this one
That gambling
sponsor?
money pays your rent the same as.
Yeah, exactly. Same as the money laundering that goes on. The same as the. But yeah, I mean, like I've never said anything about shady gambling sponsors because I know tournament organizers, that is their lifeblood, and just like for casters, our lifeblood is working tournaments. For them, it's getting sponsors, and the only sponsor it's not like they're happy, or at least I don't think so. Maybe they are, but I'm looking forward to a point where esports is big enough that we can actually have real name brand sponsors like Coca-Cola and McDonald's and shit. But I think some people are kind of missing a point that is maybe a little bit hard for people to be able to accept. Part of the argument about like, hey, tournament organizers aren't making money, we should try and make the scene friendlier to that. That is also why shady gambling sponsors and fucking NFTs now are a thing, because they can't get money anywhere else. So they're getting the money from the fucking only places that they can. So yeah, like of course, that is also why we want streaming platforms that actually compete against each other. I know everybody hated Facebook, but like when it was first announced, it was a fucking big deal because it was like, oh, we might finally have competition in streaming platforms. And you know where all the money in television comes from? Competition of streaming platforms, right?
Broadcasting rights.
Broadcast rights are a massive, massive part of budgets. And that is just something that is not that big of a deal in esports because Twitch is such a dominant force, right? So if there's no broadcasting rights, right? If there's no, like, if you're not getting money from that, maybe you get some money from your Twitch partnership deal, but like that also means you can't stream on YouTube, for example. That also means you have to run 6-7 minutes of ads every hour. They have to be combined together. They can't be broken apart, apparently. They have to be, I think, bare minimum of 3 minutes. They can't be run all at once, rather. You can only run a maximum of 3 minutes. So if you ever wonder why ESL 1 had multiple commercial breaks every single game, that's why.
I thought it's because they just wanted you to practice your tosses. They wanted you to get really good at throwing at commercials. They were doing it for you. You and she.
Yeah. So it's like, like without the competition, without the platforms competing against each other, without these broadcast rights, like the tournament organizers aren't making the big money that you see in television in the first place. And then if we don't have big enough numbers and we don't have good enough targeted marketing, you know what another thing that happens in television? You have localized ads so that people buy ads for people that will actually go to your business. What do you think the ads are on Twitch? They're not localized. They're shotgun blasted out into the air. So you think like anybody who's like, my business only operates in Wisconsin. You think they're putting a fucking ad on Twitch? No. Because those go internationally. And there's a shit ton of viewers that just do not matter to certain sponsors because they're like, well, there's just nothing there. So if you don't have huge numbers, you're not going to get a ton of money out of that. You can't actually direct your marketing very well. So you're not going to get a whole lot of quality. And so you're not going to get a ton of money out of that side of things either. So there's just no money. So yeah, part of like Kyle calling out, like Gork basically says like, why isn't Kyle calling this out when he calls out like the streamers, whatever, right? It's like, well, this all kind of leads into one another, right? Kyle wants to make the space better for third-party organizers because if like they need to make money, and if they're not making money, like they're getting money the only way they can, which is from shitty areas. And eventually even that money is not going to be enough. And we're just going to have less tournaments, we're just going to be left with one monopoly, which is very rapidly happening, right? It's like ESL 1. ESL is like a huge hold on esports, and Twitch is a huge hold on streaming platforms. And it's like those two things are not really that good for like the future of esports as a whole. Competition is always the best way forward.
I was surprised that the people who are doing the Riot and Valorant stuff in Europe is actually Freaks for You. I was like, oh,
I'm sorry, what?
Do you know Freaks for You is the people who are doing like VCT?
He who shall not be named? Freaks for You?
Yeah. I saw it today.
They're doing what?
Yeah, they're doing the Riot contracts for Valorant.
Really?
Yeah.
Oh, shit.
I'm like, well, I guess they don't want to work with ESL.
That is wild. That kind of blows my mind. That's Blitz and I were just having a very cathartic talk about both Toby and Join Dota just last night. It was a very fun conversation. It involved shitting on both of those entities. So,
Better times. Or excuse me, better times now. My opinion on the Gorp stuff actually is less about the idea and controversy of NFTs and what is and isn't good for esports, because I pretty much just exactly agree with everything you said. Like it's hard for me to even devil's advocate it. I'm like, I generally find myself suspect in any regards of people with like large rabid fan bases. I feel like that's an instant like turnoff for me. So when I see a lot of people who are like, oh man, Gorp is like the second coming of Dota Christ, like good on him for having the world's best morals. Like there's just like a red flag that goes off in my head and go, I feel like I need to read more into this.
Yeah. You know what it is? It's very similar to, like who also really doesn't like betting sponsors? Valve. Who told the team owners, hey, no more betting sponsors? Valve. And you know what the team owners were like? Bitch, you trying to kill me? Like, what the fuck? Like, excuse me? You're trying to cut that's like 80% of the money that we get is from betting sponsors. You're trying to tell me that we have to cut off betting sponsors? Why?
It's okay.
What do you mean?
Well, teams are past betting sponsors, and now big teams just have crypto sponsors.
Yeah. Now they all shout out to TSM FTX, and I just worked that fucking the charity event that they did. Did you see that?
That's right. Oh, did Undying announce today that they are TSM?
No, Undying announced that they are not TSM. Undying announced that they are going to TI as a free organization. So I'm not sure what that whole thing was. I don't know. Like, I'm so confused now why they did anything in Dota. I think it's solely because they just can't do anything in League of Legends, right?
They can't make their own tournaments.
Yeah, it's so developer controlled.
There's probably a contractual obligation
to run a
tournament.
HOTS tournament. Well, that's Blizzard, so
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's probably just a contractual obligation to do a tournament. I didn't know that you did the TSM FTX thing. I also
Oh
didn't
yeah.
know that,
Yeah. Yeah.
Undying is that's funny. They definitely swerved people twice.
Yes. They paid slightly over my day rate for me to do 4 best of ones of what was for some of them their first time playing Dota. For others, one team actually got somebody who's like an immortal player as their stand-in. They said they only had 4 people in the office who could play Dota, so they got a stand-in who was like a top 1,000 NA immortal player.
Did they win?
It was so stupid. Yes, they did. They, of course, they shit all over them because
Was it? Wait, so it was like an office league?
yes, it was an office league. I did that with Jenkins, and I
Fuck! Why
told
didn't
Jenkins,
I could have? Why did I could have got a team of people to play Dota.
well, there was no. It was TSM slash FTX, TSM FTX, of course. I messed up saying TSM only once, and they were like, "Hey, be sure to include FTX." TSM FTX, and then the rest of them were crypto. They were all crypto companies. Like one of them was like, I think one of them was another one of those FTXs. They were like one of those websites for buying crypto, but the other ones were actual cryptocurrency companies. So yeah, that's and so it was just their employees. And I was telling Jenkins, I worked out with Jenkins, and I'm telling Jenkins, like esports is really becoming real sports because we were essentially doing what was a private boxing match in a smoking room. We essentially got hired for a private event for some bougie ass. Like that's what we were. If there was a private boxing match with a bunch of millionaires sitting in a fucking room, a smoking room, like, and there was commentators there. That's what me and Jenkins were at that point in time. Except there was esports and cryptocurrency.
I mean,
like I'm not sure why we were casting, like what the point of us being there was, but it felt like it was just, gratification.
When you do something like that, how do you not devolve into a certain level of just like, wow, these people don't know how to play Dota?
I mean, it's very much an entertainment-focused broadcast, which me and Jenkins is actually a pretty good duo at doing that. For example, we had a running joke that one of the guys was an intern. I think it might have actually been his name, but it was intern. And we kept on talking about how he needed to be able to get the rampage in order to keep his job and his hopes of being able to be a full-time employee and, making all these intern jokes and like stuff like that. It's just like you just make up funny, entertaining shit and roll from there. You hardly even talk about you're not talking about the strategy of the game, that's for sure.
I see the future being more TSM FTX focused. EG has Coinbase. I think ByteDance sponsors someone who I'm forgetting.
Yeah.
Like, I think that we're going to continue to see this with all these exchanges who have a lot of money, who have staff who like esports, who are like, we can give money to teams.
Yeah. You know what was funny? It was like 6 months ago on stream. I was like, man, I straight up was talking about the NFTs that were coming out of team owners. And I was like, I straight up said something like, who else is joining in on these scanning NFTs? And I went through each of like the team organizations, and it was Navi, Alliance, OG, and there was a 4th team that I still cannot remember. But Navi, I'm not sure if they dropped that one, but Navi was definitely one of them. I remember that. I think it might have been another CIS organization that was also doing an NFT thing. And I didn't publicly call that out because, again, same as the shady gambling sponsors. Like, I don't know what to say about that. Like, I can't say anything about it and I still can't go like work a tournament, Otherwise, I'm literally only working TI. That's it.
Well, hopefully we find out who's working TI soon and who's going to Romania, and how I'm going to get in a plane there. But until then, I'm going to stop speaking and just hope that my mother didn't wake up. That's my goal. My goal is to just hope that I was quiet enough to keep her at bay, and then next week I'll probably try and record earlier.
Sounds good. I will be going to bed after watching a couple episodes of F1's Drive to Survive. No, not Beastars. Drive to Survive. Drive to Survive has been highly recommended to me. It's F1 documentary about F1. It goes in seasons, television. It's great. It's fucking fantastic. I don't give a shit about sports. I don't care about any sport, and I certainly don't care about racing sports. But
dude,
Drive to Survive,
F1 is becoming so popular.
Yes.
It's being reinvigorated with it. People in our cohort, for sure. People are like, dude, do you watch F1? And I'm like, what are you talking about? But like, I think that true hipsters are really into F1 right now.
Yes. So F1, Drive to Survive. It's on Netflix. Highly recommend that. Also, what I'm going to be doing tomorrow is streaming and playing RimWorld with the new expansion, Ideologies, where you can you make your post-apocalyptic. God damn it, my camera. Societies can now have religions and memes and things of that nature. And my current goal is making my tribe is the matriarchal cannibals, and they're tunnelers. So they're basically people who live in the mountain, a matriarchal society, and are a bunch of cannibals. And they're called their religion is called the Feminine Shaft. It's very good. It was randomly generated, that name, the Feminine Shaft. It's great.
That's what comes off the cheese.
You want to know what the name of my that's the name of the religion. You want to know what the name of my my settlement is?
What's the name of the settlement?
This was given to me by somebody in Twitch chat. The Nom Nom Mommies.
And you were like, "Yep, that's the one."
That's the one right there. No other name really fits a matriarchal cannibalistic society than the Nom Nom Mommies.
You know, that is kind of smart. Fucking
so good.
Do you like rhythm games?
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. If you like rhythm games, if you listening right now are like, oh man, I'm not really a RimWorld fan, maybe I won't watch Cat, but I want to try a new game to play. On my course of binging games over the weekend, I played a game called Rhythm Doctor, which I believe has been in development for like something crazy, like almost 10 years, and has like a lot of Chinese development too, which is super cool. Most fun rhythm game I've played in almost ever. It's like up there with things that I love, like Audio Surf and Beat Saber and DDR.
Wow, so overwhelmingly positive, 98% out of 10,000 user reviews.
You should check it out if you like rhythm games. If you don't like rhythm, or like if you're a music person. If you're not one of those two things, then like, okay, maybe not for you. But if that sounds like something you like rhythm games, you should try it. If you're like, fuck, I don't want to play RimWorld or fucking Rhythm Doctor, what should I do? You should get your cell phone. You should go to your app store. You should look up Blind Drive, like BLIND DRIVE, and play Blind Drive with headphones off your cell phone. And you'll be like, damn, Joey, thanks for the recommendation.